Hello. I feel like we're at the Paley Center and we're the cast of Arrested Development or something. We're gonna do this quick because it's very hot in here and I want to take this jacket off. So to start us off, I am Matt Derda, Director of Product Marketing at Fidelity Private Shares. I know if you stop by our booth today, you probably think we make water bottles. We are actually an equity management platform, so we integrate your cap table, data room, valuation, scenario modeling, all the modelings into one software platform so that you can fundraise and exit without any headaches. And also, there's all the other Fidelity stuff we've got that you can take advantage of as you grow. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Jill, who's on the panel as well.
Yep, I am Jill Marguette. I am head of marketing, and yes, you can go get a nice Fidelity Private Shares water bottle. We still have some, but we're not.
Actually, we don't. We're out.
Oh,
Yeah.
What is up with my
We
marketing
may have
team?
some more
No, I'm
tomorrow.
just kidding.
Stop back by.
But we're not the important people here in this room, Matt. Who are the important people here?
We've got a couple founders here, Cecilia and Alex. I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell everybody here about your companies because you do some pretty great work. So Cecilia, let's start with you.
Yeah, I am the CEO and co-founder of a company called Freya, where we believe that the voice is the biometric of the future. And in the meantime, to start, we are providing the complete cortisol care solution, starting with women. So that's at-home, clinical-grade, salivary-based cortisol tests and proprietary supplement products.
And Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Wright-gladstein. I'm the founder and CEO of Sphere, where we make it easy for everyone to invest their retirement savings in a climate-friendly way, even in 401ks, where it's been really hard to do that until now.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you both for joining us today. So the name of this session is Let's Talk About It. The parts of being a founder no one tells you about, so much like Bruno, we are going to talk about it. I heard some groans. Good. That's what I was going for. Let's get right into it. Alex, I'm going to start with you. How do you actually spend your time? Like, what fills your time that most people don't see or talk about? Because I think, you know, the people that I know who aren't in the startup world, they kind of see, you know, the HBO TV shows or hear about like Meta and they hear all the glamorous things. But what do you actually spend your day on?
So I think my favorite part of being a founder is that it's always changing. I have friends ask me, like, how do you like being a founder? And I tell them it's the best job in the world because I never get bored. This is actually my second company. My first one is called IR Labs. I founded it with my co-founders in 2015. They had invented the first processor chip to communicate using light. We spun that technology out and formed IR Labs, which is cutting the energy use of AI in half by using light to move data between chips, and also just speeding up compute. So I've taken that company on the journey from founding in 2015 to where we just raised a Series E that valued us at around $4 billion. And now I'm at Sphere, which is now a seed stage company. We're raising a $5 million round right now. And I have to say there's no commonality throughout that journey, right? Like it just changes all the time. When fundraising, I'm spending a lot of my day on the phone with investors, as you might imagine, but I think it's really important as a founder to not always be fundraising because you have to be able to spend time on other things. I mean, it's super important to make sure the company doesn't run out of money. So when fundraising, that is your number one focus and everything else is secondary. But you need to be able to close that round and then focus on growing the company with the money you just raised. So as soon as I close, it's talking all day with people who are trying to recruit and hire. And I'm trying to find people who are smarter than me and better than me in each role. Whether it's, right now we're looking for a head of sales to sell our fund products onto 401k plans. And so I'm talking to people who have more relationships with 401k advisors than I do, and who know more about the secret sauce of how to grow that kind of sales team than I do. I also want to hire engineers, and et cetera. And so it's a lot of time spent on that. And I think as a founder, I'm just always asking myself every morning, what's the most valuable thing I can be doing today?
Yeah.
And then that just shifts all the time.
That's perfect. And so between the two companies, like the fundraising was completely, like it was pretty much a different process between the two, would you say? Or was it kind of fairly, was that portion of it kind of the same?
Do you mean, was raising venture funding
Yeah.
for my first company different or the same than for my second company?
Yeah.
Because they're very different companies, yeah. No, it was extremely similar, and I have
Oh,
some
wow.
pointers for people. I have advice I give founders all the time. What I've learned over the years is that VCs will be happy to take your time, and it's super important to focus on who you're talking to. Certain VCs, when I was raising for my first company, had never invested in a semiconductor company before. And especially when AI and semiconductor started taking off a little bit in late 2016, everyone wanted to talk to us all of a sudden. We had gone from no one wanting to talk to us until that point, and they were like, we don't do hardware, to all of a sudden people wanting to talk to us, and I ended up wasting a lot of my time with people who I shouldn't have because they had never invested in semiconductor, and they never would have gotten over the hump of trying to learn and understand it well enough to be comfortable to make that investment. And after that experience, I learned I need to just vet every single VC and make sure that we're similar enough to other companies they've invested in the past to make sure that they could realistically invest in our type of company. And I do the same thing now. I only talk to investors who have invested in finance companies or climate companies. If they haven't done that, the chances of them investing are very slim, though the chances of them taking my time for conversations is very high. So I just weed them out. And then there are other quick things you should always check off the bat. What stage do they invest in? You don't need to waste your time with Series A and B investors when you're seed stage, and vice versa. Do they like to lead or follow? If you haven't found a lead for your round, don't bother talking to investors who only follow on. Save that for later and just focus your time and energy on the types of investors who lead rounds.
Yep.
And so that's how I kind of prioritize my time now.
And it's very similar to like sales. Like on our end of it is like your gut instinct is to go after anything, but really you're just going to end up wasting your time.
Yeah.
Now, Cecilia, this is your first company, correct?
Yes.
What is something that takes up way more time than you had expected?
I think because the problem that we are going after solving is something that I care so deeply about. I didn't expect how difficult it would be to know what to say no to. So similar to the fundraising, knowing who to go after and knowing who to invest your energy with, I feel like that permeates through every business decision. Because at the end of the day, I have FOMO that I could have missed an opportunity to help somebody at the end of the day. So part of my motivation for starting this company was that I felt dismissed by a medical professional as a 17-year-old. I have what's called amenorrhea, which means I don't ovulate on my own. And I was told at 17 I might be menopausal, which, just based on the look of this room, it usually happens in your 50s, generally speaking. So at 17, I definitely wasn't expecting to hear that. And I was also told that I was 1 in a million. So both of those were inaccurate, but I was told to go off on my merry way and to come back when I wanted to have kids. And so I just want to remove all guesswork from health. At the end of the day, it took me over 20 years to get an answer to what had become a lifelong health question. And so that just trumps everything else, whether it's a fundraising conversation, whether it's a potential channel partnership conversation, a vendor relationship. It's all viewed through this lens of, could this ultimately remove the guesswork from somebody? And if it does, then it's really hard for me to say no.
You shared an interesting fact with me when we met before this about some search keywords as marketing. I'm super interested in that. But you're right on the cusp of what's super popular right now with the perimenopausal and cortisol. And what did you share with me?
Yeah, so cortisol is your stress hormone, for those of you who don't know about it. It's a hormone that's produced and managed and regulated out of your adrenal glands. They're these tiny little hat-shaped organs on top of your kidneys. And it's the same place where your body produces, manages, regulates your estrogen, your progesterone, and testosterone. And so cortisol as a search term has been rising steadily over the past 5 years, but for the first time it has surpassed search popularity the term menopause and perimenopause. And more interestingly to me, the search phrase low cortisol has increased 70% in over 3 months. And why that's particularly interesting is because it means that the everyday consumer, all of us, are more aware that cortisol is not just a good or a bad. There's a high, there's a low, there's a what does it do in the morning, what does it do in the evening? And so it just is very telling that the market is very ripe for this sort of offering, and they're looking for more information around their health than they were before.
And I'd like to ask both of you, maybe Cecilia, we'll just keep it with you for right now, but what is something that you misunderstood about fundraising until you actually went through it, or something you didn't know that you wish you knew beforehand? Now that you both have you've gone through a lot of fundraising rounds, and you've gone through your own. What is there anything that you thought you think differently about now?
Yeah, so I'm a recovering management consultant. I'll share that as well for the fellow management consultants or former management consultants in the room. And VC funds, PE funds, asset managers, wealth managers, they were my clients in the past. So I really understand, or I went into this not feeling like I really knew the VC world well. I know the personalities well. I know the business, the economics, what makes sense to make their fund. I felt like I understood that very well. What continues to perplex me, though, is how inefficient the whole process is. One investor I heard speak at a panel at another event had shared that one of their favorite deals just happened to land on their desk. And as a founder, I thought, if I were an LP in that fund, I don't know that would give me comfort. That was my initial reaction. And I get that. There are certain amount of investors and certain amount of funders. I understand supply and demand and all of that. And at the same time, I feel like then there has to be a more efficient way than just hoping that a great deal lands on your desk.
It's true. It's so just relationship based, and that hasn't changed. I think for me, what I've learned over the years is that it's all about storytelling. So when I was starting my first company 11 years ago now, I would show up with my deck and walk people through slides. I never walk people through my deck anymore. I just show up and introduce myself, and I tell my story. I tell them, hey, when I was running my first company, I tried to get a climate-friendly option on our 401k, and it took over 3 years and a lot of persistence. And so I started trying to learn how 401ks work and ended up learning I wasn't alone. And there are employees at Google and Microsoft and Apple who've been trying to get climate-friendly options on their plans for years. And they have $50 billion on a single plan at those companies, and on and on. So I get people into the story. And then when they start asking questions, I'll pull up specific slides. Oh, you want to know our business model? Here's the slide you can look at for that. And I find that conversational approach works a lot better.
Yeah, even as a marketer, I know a sales team is going to be successful based on how many slides they ask for. Because if they need a lot of slides, it's like you're not telling a good story. So I totally get that. And what you both kind of touched on this, but what kind of support has made a difference for you as you built your company, especially from the investment community?
Honestly, for me, my favorite investors are the ones who invest and then are pretty hands-off. And it's funny how you can really see the difference between VC firms that are founded by founders, people who have started their own companies and grown them and then gone into VC, versus the ones who come maybe more from investment banking. The ones founded by founders, I find, tend to be super hands-off. I, as a founder, make sure to always send updates on how things are going. And then it's amazing when, I think it's important to stay top of mind for them. Otherwise, we don't want our investors to forget about us. But they get opportunities. They get asked, hey, who should we be inviting to speak at this conference or that one? And when they invite me as a founder to be spotlighted at a big spot, then that's hugely valuable. So it's the VCs who aren't trying to tell us how to run our company, but they're offering support, whether it's putting us in the spotlight at events or offering maybe some PR services if they have a PR team that can help, those types of things that are super helpful, but not trying to control.
Yeah, and when you send your updates, because I know investor updates are a critical piece for founders, but I don't know if a lot of founders know what should be included in that. What do you include in your investor updates?
Good question. I assume my investors are busy people, so I have literally one sentence at the top, like, here, things have been moving fast or whatever it is, and then I'm like, before I get into the updates, here's how you can help, and I have 2 bullets of things they can do for us before I even tell them the latest. Then I get into, okay, here's everything that's been happening over the last few months, and I get into all the updates, and it's places we've been speaking, growth in our customer base, if we're in the process of fundraising, how the fundraising is going, if we've launched any new products, what's the status of that. So it's just kind of, and then if there's any news, like noteworthy news relating to our business, I definitely discuss that as well.
What about for you, Cecilia?
I was trying to think, what the most valuable investors? Was that the what you were getting at?
Or even like how could investors maybe support you better?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I shared how inefficient fundraising is, I think the relationships certainly help. The warm introduction certainly help. But I think for me, the ones that have been most memorable have been very organic meetings that have happened because they brought me somewhere else. So it could be an event like this, but it wasn't because they planned a rendezvous. It was because you collided with other people that they knew. Those have been the most valuable to me. So they felt just so much more authentic, so much more organic, so much less slimy, and if I get really specific, we grabbed ice cream together at 10:30 at night in a shopping mall car park on the heels of a conference. So I think events like that, and maybe that's why it's so inefficient, the process is so inefficient, because it's things like that you can't really plan for in advance. It just doesn't feel the same. Like meeting at the car park at 10:30 for ice cream, like that doesn't land as well. But I think it's those investors who know which rooms to bring you to. Those have been really valuable.
Note to self, we should have ice cream at our booth.
Always.
Ice cream and water bottles.
Good ice cream.
Cecilia, I wanted to ask you a follow-up question to that. So for the founders and investors in this room, how should they be utilizing an event like this? What would your advice be?
I think in advance, if you had known who might be here and you've already been through who you might be trying to get close with, I think setting up some time and reaching out to them in advance is probably helpful. But that may be futile if you're already here today and you haven't done that. So if you haven't done that, I just encourage people to meet as many people as possible. I have met wonderful investors through founders. And so I've been to some conferences or some events where a fellow founder will see I'm a founder and they'll just keep walking. And I think that is a really missed opportunity because you don't know who I know. And likewise, I don't know who you know. So I think, especially as a female founder, I'm a really strong advocate of helping another fellow female founder. It's well documented, the challenges that female founders have, in particular with fundraising. So I am just up for, or I recommend that you meet as many people as you can. And not for a number exercise, but just to establish a genuine human connection with as many people as feels good to you. That would be my advice.
Yes, that's really good advice. You never know who they're going to know. Because I was sponsoring another event. This was with a different company, but somebody from Mondelez was there, and I went up to say hi, and they looked at my badge, and they literally said, "Oh, you're a vendor," and they just turned around and left. And I went, "Yeah, my dad worked at Mondelez. He knew you. He wanted to say hi." And so it's like, yeah, it's like she just assumed the worst, but you don't know what people.
I remember how sad you were about that.
I was very sad. I don't buy any Mondelez products anymore.
Yeah, it stays with you, right? And
it does.
It's not to be transactional, but at the end of the day, humans, we're human. And when we connect with someone, that lasts so much longer than I'm a blah and I'm doing this and what can I get out of you? That's why we're here, gathered today. To convene.
Actually, following up on that a little bit, because how hard it is for female founders, how have you dealt mentally, both of you, with all the rejection that comes with fundraising and just in general in this world?
There's a term from a blog that I read that described founders as being delusionally optimistic.
Oh, I love that.
And that's probably true to a degree. I think it's more that I care so much about what we're doing and with my finance background, I see that it's not just a cool idea. It has really strong business financial legs. So I think that's what powers me to keep going.
I have exactly the same answer. Yeah, it's a ton of rejection, especially in the early days.
Yeah.
But I started caring about climate change when I was a kid. It was my 7th grade science teacher who taught me about it. And I mean, now there's a term for this. Young kids these days call it climate anxiety. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I've had that since I was a kid. And so it's never been an option to not be successful, because for me, for some crazy reason, it has felt existential. Like, I need this company to exist. And if you don't think it needs to exist, that's cool, I'll move on. I'll find someone who agrees with me. I think I heard, I can't remember which founder said this, but essentially the difference between a successful founder and an unsuccessful founder is that the successful founder refuses to believe that the company has failed. Mm-hmm. So even when it seems like all is lost and there's no way forward, you just keep going, keep trying to find a way forward. I think even the last person on the stage here was saying, just keep going. And I laughed because one of my favorite movie characters is Dory from Finding Nemo. Just keep swimming, do. Like, that's literally, I think, every successful founder.
And I also want to get your perspective on the previous question too, of like, what would you say to the people in this room? Like, how should you utilize an event like this? What's your advice for being here?
Similar. I would just say I'm usually not the organized type who has made those connections ahead of time. And I did break into 2 industries that I had no experience in with my companies. So I had no background in semiconductor or photonics, and I started IR Labs. No background in finance or 401ks, and I started Sphere. And my way of breaking in and making relationships was to attend events, see who was speaking on which stage, and when they came off the stage, basically accost the speakers, like, hi, I'm Alex, want to talk? And I've gotten investors, I've gotten customers, I've built every relationship I have in both industries from doing that. At the end of the day, it's about human connection, you're right. And whether you're trying to pitch yourself for a VC to invest in or pitch your product for somebody to be a customer, it's about building trust. You want them to trust that you are a good person and that you're building a good company that they can depend on. And there's nothing like in-person interaction to do that. I will say I'm so glad it's not 2020 or 2021 anymore. Yeah. When I started Sphere, it was extremely hard to do that because all the events had shut down. And so treasure this moment when you can have a packed room with not enough ventilation of wonderful people to meet with, because this is a treasure. Take advantage.
I would like to ask you both a fun question right now. So what's something that is part of your responsibilities that you didn't know being a founder, like, oh, I'd have to do that? Like, I was talking to somebody at the conference earlier, and they were like, yeah, I'm a founder, and I also do marketing, and I clean the bathrooms. And like, case in point, one of those is I'll take equity management out of there because nobody starts a company to maintain a cap table. We'll be honest about our product. I'll take that out of your answer for you, but what's something that you've had to take on that you're like, uh-oh, I didn't know I'd have to do that?
So I'm actually kind of proud that I've become, I think, a pretty decent mixologist recently, slash barista. We have a booth every year at the biggest annual 401k conference. And our creative team came up with this super popular thing to offer, which is, since conference coffee is always so bad, we have our little Nespresso machine, and we have spherical shaped mugs that people love for their espressos, and then we also have spherical shaped cocktail glasses, and we have like a signature cocktail that we offer towards the end of the day. And it is so popular that all of us at the booth end up like mixing these drinks, myself included. And people are always kind of commenting on the fact that, oh wow, the CEO is making the cocktails. I'm like, yeah, I do it all.
Awesome.
I didn't realize I'd be getting so many good marketing ideas from you two up here.
Oh, I mean, no. Mine is less fun, I think. But the answer that came to my mind immediately was that I've had to become a content creator, like the traditional, like dancing to music on Instagram, like, yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. Do you want to tell everybody your handle? Sorry, the handle. It's at Hey Freya. No, I'm not doing as much of it lately, but Yeah, and I think as a founder who resonates so deeply with my target initial go-to-market customer, which is the millennial-aged woman between 35 and 55, her challenges are very similar with my very real personal challenges. I'm a mother of young children, summer's coming up, summer camps, all of that. And so it made sense for me as being the founder to film myself. So that's been fun, I guess.
That's actually an interesting topic. What if you are a founder and you don't want to be the face of the company? What kind of advice would you give to them? Or can you? Or do you always have to be the face of the company, kind of, in today's TikTok world?
I mean, I've shared just our direct experiences that we can see that when our faces are on in the content, they tend to do better. So,
all right, so all you founders out there, get to TikTok and
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Is it's you can't not. People connect with other people, and if you can't be doing it in person, it's scrolling through LinkedIn or wherever it is that you get your news. So something that I've tried to do a lot of. Really taking a page from the book of some successful social movements out there, like the Black Lives Matters movement, the Sunrise movement, which got climate change on the agenda for politicians in our country. They didn't have one figurehead really leading those movements. They had local leaders in every city that were really empowered to lead within their community. And I think that's a big part of why they were so successful. What we're doing, yes, we're selling to 401k advisors, but also we're empowering employees who just want climate-friendly options to invest in on their 401ks. And so what we're doing very intentionally is giving a platform to the employees at Microsoft, at Apple, at Google, who have been pushing for this, who've gotten thousands of signatures on petitions asking for a climate-friendly option on their 401k, or the parents who've gotten a climate-friendly option on the California College Savings Plan, the 529. And so giving them a platform to lead the movement so it's not just all on me.
All right, well, the clock on the bottom of the floor tells us our time is up, but thank you both. Give a round of applause to Alex and Cecilia, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to our panel session, and we'll hand it back over to Startup Grind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make yourself at my home, tell me where you been. All right, let's give another round of applause for that last panel. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Thank you, thank you. All right, we've got another exciting panel for you guys. We've had, like I said, we've had a lot of great speakers, and we're super excited about this one as well. So please give a big Startup Grind welcome to Tiffany Wang, Nira Sarek, Gary Dempsey, and Ken Yoshida. Round of applause.
We're all seated? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Yeah? So my name is Tiffany Wang. I'm the founder of Onsen Global. I've been on the investment side for a very long part of my career, doing investments all the way from early stage all the way to growth. Today, we're here to talk about building global companies from day one. I'm just curious, how many of you in the audience are not from the US? Oh, wow. We have tons of international founders, right? I think a lot of you are founders, investors. So today we have a really, really exciting panel from actually all different parts of the world to come and talk about how do you launch your company, build a global company from day one. So why don't we just do a brief introduction from each of you, a little bit about yourself and your company or firm.
Thanks, Tiffany. So my name is Nira Sarek. I'm originally from Kazakhstan. My company is called Rima First. We are AI native, most affordable employer of record in the world. We help companies hire people from 180 plus countries without them setting up an entity. We started about 5 years ago. That's pretty much it.
Hey everyone, my name is Gary Dempsey and I'm the Vice President of the Emerging Technology Division in IDA Ireland. IDA Ireland, for those of you who don't know, is Ireland's economic development and investment promotion agency, and our role is to support international firms when they're looking to establish a presence in Europe and in Ireland. We've about 400 staff globally in 24 international offices, and I'm based here in our Palo Alto office. And again, I focus on companies that are typically at the Series A to Series C stage of investment.
Hi, my name is Ken Yoshida from JETRO. JETRO is a Japanese government organization, helps Japanese startups go global, and we have 70 offices abroad and 40 offices in Japan, and also support US startups coming to Japan, so both sides. And I'm in charge of running the Japanese startup program in North America. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so this question is for any of the panelists. What has fundamentally changed in the startup ecosystem that is pushing founders to build internationally from day one?
I'll go if you're all looking at me. I think there are a number of factors. I think VCs and investors definitely want founders to be looking globally and outside their initial market from day one. I think it's much easier to go global now as well, much cheaper with services like yourself. I work with companies from seed stage, kind of Series A, all the time that are looking at going into EMEA markets. And maybe 5-10 years ago, they didn't have the opportunities to use the EOR or PO model as much. So I'm seeing that a lot, and I'm seeing companies going international much quicker than they would have in the past. I think regulation plays into it a little bit as well. So I think companies, when they're building from day one, they're looking at Europe, they're looking at Asia, they're looking at the different regulation, and they have to take into account things like GDPR and all that sort of stuff, because it's very difficult to retrospectively change your regulatory path. So I think companies just have that mindset from day one. I think it's demand driven mainly by their investors.
Yeah, I'll probably go next. So I think there are three main reasons. Number one is customer. I think more and more companies are realizing that you don't need to tackle one market, you can go really global, and then that helps you accelerate growth. You've probably seen all these AI startups getting to hundreds, millions of ARR, and then that's also fueled by going global from day one. Number two is talent. I mean, all of us know in Silicon Valley how fierce the competition is for talent, and then how difficult it is to get really, really good in talent, especially AI engineers. And then so many companies are realizing that unless they go global from day one, it's really, really hard to find the talent. in a one small location, especially when you're competing with Anthropics and OpenAIs of this world. And then the last thing would be the infrastructure. I think Gary mentioned that it is obviously similar to companies like us, where we help companies hire people globally, but at the same time, banking infrastructure, payment infrastructure. So now with the click of a button, you can literally accept funding from 180 plus countries. So infrastructure compliance has become a service, and then anyone can just, in a matter of days, go global essentially. So that's kind of my view.
I have two things to mention. One is I believe that expectation for the VCs to the startups to get the market, I think they have to go global. That's inevitable. And one more thing is even in Japan, the birth rate is just above 1%. So the market size, we have to think only that, not only Japan but the other overseas. So we need to go global from day one. Yeah.
Great. And I know we're in Silicon Valley, but for founders deciding where to establish their first international presence, what are the key factors they should evaluate?
Okay. For me, and when I'm talking to founders, and I talk to them every day about their international strategy and international plans, the two key factors that come up time and time again, and there are many. One is your customer base. Where is your customer base? And you need to be close to them if possible, or as close to them as humanly possible. You should be able to service that customer in the right time zone, in the right language, and if you're not in very close proximity, you should be able to get to that customer quite quickly in case something arises. And it depends again on what product and the type of product you're selling, but proximity to the customer, I think, is key. And then the other one, of course, is talent. And companies don't exist without talent, and being close to talent is hugely important. Whether you're looking at talent zones in Europe, like London and Dublin or Berlin, it's hugely important to have them. Now, there is remote work, but I think to build up a cohesive team and to build up the culture, picking the right location for that is hugely important. And I've seen in the past a lot of companies maybe have hired people from, like I'm speaking on an example from a US firm going into Europe. They've hired people from all over Europe in small offices, so they have 2 people in Barcelona and 2 people in Madrid or London and Dublin, and that works for a while until it doesn't. And I think once you scale to a certain level, you need to really have that hub and spoke model. And I've seen companies going through that, and it does cause a bit of pain sometimes, but I think it's really important that they have that, and they can kind of pick a good location. And then there's all the other factors like costs and accessibility with flights and all that sort of stuff. But I think the first 2 key ones are definitely your customer and where your employees are and the talent and where you can get them.
Can I add
Yes.
one more? Yeah. So, and one more, I believe that how can do that pilot fast and learn fast in the market. So I think Silicon Valley Bay Area is a good location to do the pilot of POC. So how you can do that fast pilot? That's I think one factor to select that location. Yeah.
Cool. And then we've obviously expanded in 180 plus countries. So a lot of the time, people and founders come and ask me like, what are the key things you look at? And then I think I've nailed it down to 4. The first one is a fundraising and ecosystem. Is this additional market would help you with fundraising and ecosystem? How would that play into your kind of operations? And then second one is operational complexity, like how difficult it is for you to maintain and set up that entity. What about the taxes? And then quickly start understanding that you probably need to pay income taxes in different jurisdictions, and then complexities in compliance become a second kind of a thinking. The third factor, kind of segmenting Gary, is definitely customer. You need to think, would this market help you with customers? And then the last one also talent. But overall, I think the framework that I go with, I need to get 3 yes to 3 very simple questions. Number one is that, would this additional market allow me to grow my customer base? If the yes, the answer, then you should do it. But all 3 should be yes. So the second question is, would this additional market allow me to hire better talent, would allow me more talent, I would be able to access more talent. If the answer were yes, then you definitely should do it. And then the last question, I think this is the more fundamental question where you don't need to kind of think too much, is that would this extra market allow me to actually move faster as a company? If the answer is yes, then only if the answer is yes for all three questions, that's when you definitely need to set up or expand into this market. But other than that, I would say it's more of a disruption into your business if you're expanding for the market for the sake of expanding, essentially.
Yeah, and from an investor perspective, I've made investments all over the world, and what I tend to look for is core competencies. So Silicon Valley, we do a lot in AI and in enterprise, but for example, if you're building in biotech, we have some biotech here, but there are some other areas, like Boston is very strong biotech, deep tech set of investors. Like go to like Israel for cybersecurity. FinTech is much more New York heavy, so a lot's going to depend on what you're actually building. So let's turn to Europe. For Gary, for companies expanding from the US, what makes Ireland an attractive base for entering the European market?
Yeah, so Ireland and Dublin in particular has built up a very strong reputation as being a leader in the global or European technology ecosystem. I think there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, which I think is hugely important, is we're a member of the EU, and we're a committed member of the EU, and the only English-speaking member of the EU as well, which is hugely important and advantageous to us, especially since our nearest neighbours in the UK left a number of years ago. So we've access to a wealthy cohort of 450 million people. We also have access to employees in the EU that can work in Ireland visa-free and without any restrictions of 200 million people. So those two factors are hugely important. Our track record speaks for itself. So IDA has been around since 1949, and we've over 2,000 companies, international companies with subsidiaries in Ireland, employing 3,000 people. And that ease of doing business over and over again is often cited with companies that I'm working with. You know, companies or people that I've worked with in companies like Stripe, or they worked in Google a number of years before that, and they set up in Ireland, and they just had a really positive experience. Our education system is extremely strong as well. We're one of the youngest populations in Europe, and we have the highest third level attainment rate. We've also one of the highest STEM graduate rates in Europe as well. And culturally, I think, particularly between the US and Ireland, it's quite closely aligned. We have a common law jurisdiction as well, which really helps on the contract side of things. So I think all of these factors, you know, from the English language, the European Union, and our track record and easy doing business are kind of our key selling points, and why Ireland has built up a very strong reputation as a European tech hub over the last couple of decades.
Great, thank you. So we're going to turn to Japan. I actually just flew in from Japan this morning, but Ken, the Japanese government is doing a really great job bridging Japan and US. What are the biggest collaboration opportunities emerging between Japanese startups, corporates, and Silicon Valley ecosystem?
Yes, so recently JETRO and the government, and also for example Tokyo Metropolitan Government, we'd like to create a great startup ecosystem in Japan also. So one of the cases that like Techstars Japan, Techstars launched the Japan Fund, also Alchemist, for example. And also 2 days ago, Alumni Ventures announced a strategic partnership with KDDI. KDDI is a Japanese telecommunication leading company, and also with Tokyo University. So that kind of collaboration with corporates, Japanese big corporates with VCs, and going and launching and investing in the Japanese startups, that might be one way. And also, there is a great appetite for the Japanese corporates to invest in US VCs as an LP. And also to the Japanese US startups. So that kind of collaboration, and also the pilot project, POCs and collaboration. That's a lot of Japanese big corporates are now in Silicon Valley. So that kind of tie up and collaboration, I think that might
Great, thank you. Nora, I have a question. So, after these startups, after they fundraise, now they have some money and they got to hire. The competition is so fierce here. What does a modern global startup team look like, and how should founders think about where to place talent versus headquarters?
That's a great question, Tiffany. I think the modern startup talent looks like, it used to be that it was everything about headquarter first, but now it's about talent first. So what I mean by talent first, as Tiffany said, is that if you think about fierce competition on anything, it could be also on sales. It doesn't have to be just AI engineers that you're looking for, but it could be sales where we are currently have customers in about 60 countries, and what that means for us is that it's sometimes easier for us to hire salespeople in different regions and countries that they go local, and then localized sales are much better in, and so that's where it's not about headquarters, but rather where's the talent is to help you sell this stuff. At the same time, it's also about customer support. I mean, you want your customers to be supported 24/7 if possible. So by having customer support in different time zones, that allows you to cover all the time zones and support. And then obviously the last thing is about the engineers and AI engineers specifically. It is really, really difficult these days to find good engineers. So when you go global first instead of headquarter first, you are able to find micro hubs that no one really knows, and then that would help you find the really great talent. And then so in my view, it used to be all about, headquarters is all about legal and strategic decisions, and then talent is all about execution decisions. So if you're looking for execution, that's where talent first comes in essentially.
And so how early should these founders come in and see you? Should it be after they fundraise? Should it be before they fundraise?
I mean, we help all sorts of customers. Our focus group is SMBs, but we also help enterprise customers. So with the most affordable solution, we have customers who are just two founders, and then one of them needs to be helped essentially.
There you go. So it could be as early as two founders. Okay, so common expansion mistakes. This is for all the panelists. What are the most common mistakes founders make when entering a new market?
Maybe I'll go there again. There's a few. Maybe I'll talk about the pathway that I usually see companies going international from my perspective. And I'll focus on companies that are HQ'd in the Bay Area. And again, typically, seed up to kind of Series C. The pathway has changed slightly over the past few years. They're definitely using more of the EOR PEO type model, like Nora's product, and I think that's a great idea for companies to test the water. It's inexpensive. They can see what the talent's like, see if the product sells there, see what the customer support is like, all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a really, really positive development, and I think it's really, really good. I think when they make mistakes is when if they overhire maybe in different countries. They could have, and I have talked to fairly large companies, one big legal AI tech company recently, and they'd people in 10 different European countries, and quite sizable teams in each one of those countries, but they'd no cohesive kind of structure around that. So they had to kind of fix that, and then they picked Ireland and Dublin as their EU HQ to kind of consolidate all of that in. So I think sometimes they can make a mistake around that, over-hiring different locations and just not thinking long-term about it. The other one is around talent, is not picking the right, if say for example you've picked Dublin for your kind of European operations centre, and you just haven't thought about who you're going to hire there, or you haven't put enough effort into that and not hiring the right person. If you're thinking about building a team of 10 or 20 people, you want kind of a site lead type candidate that can build up those teams and will know the local market and would be able to bring in some recruitment and bring in people that he or she may know from their network. So I think they're probably the biggest mistakes, if they haven't thought about long term ahead because of where they're hiring around Europe, or else they haven't thought properly about their first hire in the country that they're going to grow out of. So I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, so this might be typical to Japanese startups, but one I think is for the perfection. So the perfect product they want to, for example, in Japanese startup they would like to launch, but it's, I think, the speed and launching and getting feedback and improving that might be better. And the second thing is that focusing on the product, only the product might be a mistake, and not only you need to focus on the market and from the feedback from the customers. So I think that part is important. And one more is that the pivoting your product or target, so that you can be flexible. That might be might be a mistake. Yeah.
Great. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just give one big mistake that I see founders doing, and then we ourselves done it a few times, is that most time when you've done a great expansion, let's say in Spain, you're like, oh my goodness, I cracked the code, now I can use the same playbook, and you go to Japan and you miserably fail because the people think that you can just use one playbook and go to any country, but I think that's one of the big mistakes, is that every single country is unique. Yes, there are similarities in some regions. You can think of LATAM as a region and then go kind of use similar playbook, but still it's like there's a big difference between Argentina and Brazil and in different countries, and so I think that's one of the big mistakes I see of people just using the same playbook and thinking that they can expand to any country with that.
Yeah, and just to add, like, I'm from Silicon Valley, so we get a lot of international visitors a lot, and I think a common mistake is not really understanding the competition that's in Silicon Valley. Competition is very, very fierce. You might be an interesting AI agent wherever you're coming from, but here there's tons of AI agents. And so how will your company rise above, all the other ones? And so I do see some of the founders get a little blindsided, but after they come and spend a little bit of time, they get a better understanding, and then if they can pivot, adjust their products, and figure out how to be competitive in this market, that's part of the game. Oh, we're almost short on time. Last questions. Let's practical advice for founders. For founders entering a new market, what should their 90-day ideal look like?
90-day idea. Come talk to IDA Ireland. We'll help you establish and
There's your
grow
shortcut into Europe.
in Ireland very quickly, and in Europe, and we give free advice. So definitely come talk to us. I think, again, it's back to the hiring and your talent. And I'll say this quickly, just your first hire is critically important. They can build the team around you. So definitely work on that and make sure you get the right one.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Please talk to Jetro first.
Yeah.
And because Japanese government, corporate, startups, we are very keen to expand and create a startup ecosystem in Japan. So even if you're a startup, we can support you. The Japanese corporates can support you to go global and move faster. And the government side also. So please talk to us first, and we will be able to support.
I think I have a pressure to say, please come talk to us as well. But other than that, I think just go global. That's very simple and short. Go global immediately as soon as you can, because that will help you attract more customers.
Great, thank you. So that's all the time we have today, and I'll send it back to Startup Run. Thank you.
Thank you.